Cool. All right, guys. Well, my name is Bo Lee. I'm the head of the NYC Guitar Group. We have 5,000 meetup members, so it's a big, large group. We do tons of workshops and lots of fun stuff. We also do classes. We have beginner classes, intermediate classes, advanced classes, songwriting classes, advanced performance classes. I mean, the whole shebang. Today, we're going to be talking about soloing and lead guitar playing, right? That's what you're here for that class? Just kidding. Songwriting, right? We're gonna be rocking the songwriting class, and I think we can get into a lot of stuff today if you guys have your pens and you had your coffee this afternoon. We'll be able to get through a lot. I'm gonna shut this. So I got a nice packet here for you that I put together this morning and kind of just tweaked it so it's really nice and practical. Let's go ahead and let's go to page 2. Is anyone? What's your experience here with music? Are you guys all guitarists? Yeah. Kinda. Yeah. Anyone play piano? Piano? No. Piano's a cool instrument too. It's a great songwriting instrument. Has anyone tried writing songs? I'm assuming so. Yeah. Cool. Anyone produce albums or do them recording or play live?
Oh,
yeah.
in high school.
Cool.
Band in high school. Does that count?
Sure, absolutely. Good stuff. All right. Well, songs are fantastic. I think the guitar is a fantastic instrument, but I think that if you have the capacity to write songs, I think it makes you a much more valuable instrumentalist in the context of a band. There are a lot of really, really great guitarists who can perform very, very well, but you know what? Unless they can link up with a songwriter, think about it. There's not lots and lots of use for someone who can shred on the guitar. So a songwriter is like it's kind of like the hub that the drummers have to kind of like gravitate towards, and the lead guitarist have to gravitate towards, and the bass players have to, you know what I mean? So I think songwriting is a really important skill to work on. And sometimes if you're a singer-songwriter, obviously you need to write songs. If you're in a band and you have the capacity to write music, you're going to be a real asset to the band because you can help write songs. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's talk about, let's go to page 2 and let's consider this topic of the hook, okay? When you're writing a song, you're going to have a few things. You need to write chords, right? And we're going to talk about writing, chord progressions for the foundation for your song. But you also have lyrics and you also have melody, and it's really the melody that has to hook people and be very catchy. Now, some people say, why do I have to make a catchy hook? Why do I have to make a catchy melody? Some people want to get really abstract, write abstract songs, and the truth of the matter is not a lot of people want to hear it. You can, and that's fine. And honestly, I respect that if it's really something that's kind of coming from your artistic heart. But I'm just saying, if you want people to want to listen to your music, your typical person who doesn't know a lot about music, they're listening for something that's going to grab them. And it's really the melody hook that it comes down to. Now, there are a few things that we need to think about when we're writing melody hooks. You should very, very much consider every single note that's being used. I'll play a song that I wrote, and I want you to consider the height of the notes, whether they're going up, down, and how far they're bouncing from each other. Like applesauce. Whoa, do you feel electricity? Whoa, are you spinning in circles from these feelings inside? Feelings like mine. It's chemistry on a great display. Whoa, like fireworks on a holiday. By my side on the road with no other one done. Okay, so think about, are these notes going up? Are they going down? How are they bouncing around? Is there something, whether or not you like the style of the song, is there something about the melody that is a little bit catchy, right? And I think that's what we have to consider when we're writing a song. So we'll write lyrics, but every syllable of the lyrics is going to have a note that's being used. And if you were to strip away the chords, and you were to strip away the lyrics, and all you did was hum the melody, would there be something to it that sounded interesting? You see what I'm saying? I think it's very valuable because you could get everything right in a song, but if you get the melody wrong or boring, the song's done. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to get that, that gravitational pull from audiences that you need. See what I'm saying? So we can analyze songs basically with our hand, kind of like this. Let's think of a famous song. Let's think of a famous song like Wonderwall by Oasis. Do you guys know that song at all? You don't know that song? Let me think. Today's gonna be the day that we're gonna throw it back to you. By now, you should have somehow realized what you're not to do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Heard that song? Anybody? Okay, it was Song of the Year, I think. All the roads we have to walk are winding. All the days they are winding. There are many things that I'd like to say to you, but I don't know how. Think in terms of the notes and how they move up and down and how they bounce around. There's something to it. Okay? So you could analyze it in terms of up and down. So put your hands here like this. I'm going to go slow with the melody, and I want you to analyze whether it's going up or down and see how much it changes direction. Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should somehow realize what you're not to do. Now listen, I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. You see, there's a lot of, it's playful, right? There's a lot of bouncing around, and I think it's pleasant. I think it's pleasant to listen to sometimes. The opposite of that would be a very, monotonous song, right? And choosing predictable notes. So now let's go to number 2. Another aspect of the hook. So you do have the notes and whether the notes are going up or down, but then you also have number 2, the rhythm of the syllables. The rhythm of the syllables should be interesting. So you strip away the chords, you strip away the lyrics, you strip away the melody. What do you have left? You have the rhythm of when the syllables are hitting. If you were to think about that in a percussive sense, would the beat of the hits of the words be interesting? So you could think about that same song in terms of when the notes are hitting. Da 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 You see what I'm saying? So that should be something relatively interesting about that as well. So if you take the rhythm of when the syllables are hitting and you keep that interesting, and the notes in which are being used, if that's interesting, you got probably a pretty decent hook. Okay? And what better way to check whether you have a good hook or not is talk to a little tiny kid and say, which one of these hummed melodies do you like better? give them 3 and have your song, one of those in there, and just see how it stands up, right? And if the kid picks yours out of other, let's say, songs that are on the radio, you're doing pretty well. Something to think about, right? Okay, so I would say, number 3, just listening to the melody hum should be pleasant, as we just talked about. Number 4, analyzing R&B music. R&B is known to have fantastic melody hooks. And I was in a pop rock band through my 20s, and we toured all over the place, and I liked R&B. I thought the melodies were fantastic, and I respected it, and I hope it influenced the melodies that I wrote for even the pop rock genre. Okay, any questions on that? Otherwise, we're going to move on. Yeah.
What's the name of that song?
Wonderwall by Oasis. They're an English band. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's what we just said, short and sweet, but I think that's enough to really be helpful when it comes to melody writing, which, again, if you get everything right in a song and you get that wrong, you're in trouble. Nobody's going to want to, probably people will not want to listen to it. Okay, next. You're going to need to create chord progressions for your songs. This is so important. We're going to get through a whole semester of music theory in hopefully the next 20 minutes, if you guys can handle this. You're going to have to pay close attention. All right. How many different notes are there in existence? There's 12. Okay, and I wrote them all out right here. There's actually 13 here because the first and the last are the same. That's an octave, right? Are you guys all comfortable with those notes? The order of those notes? Yeah? Okay. That's important. All right. Songs are written in keys. You've heard that terminology before, right? Songs are written in keys. And what that means is in a key, there is a subsection of notes or a subset of notes out of the 12. There's 12 notes in total, but there's going to be 5 notes that are not going to sound good. And there's going to be 7 notes that sound good. Ready? I'm going to play some music. It's off key. And so what that means is there will be 7 notes that are going to sound fantastic. But there will be 5 out of the 12 that are off limits. And as soon as I hit one of them, you guys just heard it. It hurt your ears. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to figure out what is the pattern of figuring out those 7 notes that work in a key. So here we're going to go to 1 right here where it says how to find the notes in a key. Then we're going to figure out how to create major, minor, and diminished chords, and then we're going to figure out how to find the chords in a key. Okay? This is the reason this is helpful in the context of songwriting is that it will show you how to write songs in a key. It will also show you how to analyze songs by musicians that you really respect. You can analyze them, and you can learn from them and apply what they do to your songs as well. Okay, so number 1, underneath number 1, you see this number? We're going to write, let's write G. We're going to find the notes in the key of G or the major scale of G. Cool. Okay, if G is the 1, what we're going to do is we're going to go a whole step between every one of these numbers except in 2 places. Do you see that there's 2 little triangle things? In those 2 places, we're going to only go a half step. And watch up here from the top. From A to A sharp is a half step. From A to B is what? A whole step. From E to F, how far is that? It's a half step. So anytime they're neighboring notes, they will be a half step. If you skip a neighbor, that's a whole step. All right? So when we're figuring out this pattern here, it's going to be whole steps between all the numbers except in 2 places. Between 3 and 4 is going to be how far?
Half step.
Half step. And between 7 and 8 is going to be how far? Half step. Okay? So if we went from G as the first note in the key of G or the first note in the major scale of G, how far do you go to the second note? It's a whole step, and what does that lead you to? A. A is the second note in the key of G. How far do you go to the third note?
Whole step.
Okay, what would that be?
B.
B. B is the third. How far is it from 3 to 4?
Half.
Okay, what would that lead you to?
C.
Cool. 4 to 5 is a whole step or a half step?
Whole.
Okay, what does that be? What does that bring you to? D. 5 to 6 is a whole step. What does that bring you to?
E.
6 to 7 is a whole step. F sharp.
Wait.
Take a look at it. E's right there. E to F. I know. Don't get confused that E doesn't have a sharp. If they're next to each other on this list of 12 notes, they're a half step.
Okay.
If you skip one, it's a whole step. Yep, they're all half steps. 7 to 8. 7 is an F sharp. How far is it from 7 to 8? Okay, and that brings you from F sharp to G. Now, that list that you have there is every note in the key of G. That means if you went to see a band play and you had a magic remote control and you paused it halfway through a song and all of the musicians froze. The keyboardist froze with his fingers on the piano. Guitarist froze with his hands on the guitar. The bass player froze with his hands, right? And you walked up on the stage and you analyzed every single note that was being played on the guitar and on the piano and on the bass, and even the vocal note that the vocalist was singing. They would all land on that scale there if the song was in the key of G. There would be not one note outside of that scale. So tell me the 5 notes that are off limits in the key of G.
A sharp.
So let me try an A sharp. Ready? I'm going to play the key of G. Bad, right? Tell me another note that should probably sound bad.
C sharp.
It's not going to work, right? And we could try the other 3 bad ones and it would be hideous. But as long as I'm hitting those notes on that scale, it's going to sound great. So what I'm going to do is with my left hand, I'm going to play chords in the key of G. And my right hand is going to improvise on the notes, the 7 notes in the key of G. What notes do I have available to me?
G.
A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G.
Okay, so listen. I'll improvise with this hand on notes. That's how it works. So if you ever have intentions to learn music theory, you could never make a dent in learning music theory unless you know this. This is like if you were building a house and you laid the concrete foundation. That is the concrete foundation. If you miss this, you will be lost for the rest of your life when it comes to music theory. I guarantee it. You cannot do anything without this. Now this pattern here, with the 3 and 4 having a half step and the 7 and 8 having a half step, this is the pattern for every key in the world. The key of A, the key of B, the key of C, the key of D, the key of E, the key of F, the key of G. Every key. They'll all have whole steps except between the 3rd and the 4th note and the 7th and 8th note. All right? Now, if you analyzed, we're not going to have enough time to really get too deeply into this, I don't think, today. Let me see. Yeah, I think we need to, I'm going to try to do a little shortcut just so that we can kind of get through this. But if you went to the second part of this music theory where it says how to create major chords, minor chords, and diminished chords, you'd learn the pattern for how a major chord works. If I went to a piano and I played a major chord, I would use 3 fingers. And I would go like this, boom, and lay them down, all 3 fingers. The space, so if I played a G major chord, I would start with what note? What do you think?
G.
G. And then how far do you think the spacing would be between these two? There's a little cheat sheet right there.
2 whole steps.
2 whole steps. And how far do you think how far do you think it'd be from here to here? 1.5. Every major chord in the world works like that on the piano. If you want to play a B major chord, you start here with a B. You jump how far to the next note? 2 whole steps. And how far do you jump to the next note?
1.5.
Okay, so every major chord in the world follows that pattern. That is the definition of a major chord. 2 whole steps between the first and the next note, and 1.5 steps between those two. Minor chord is the opposite. Flip it around. 1.5 steps, 2 whole steps. Should we try? Look up on that top chart where it gives all 12 notes. Let's try an A note. Let's try an A major chord. What would be the first note that we would use? Okay. And if we want to play an A major chord, how far do you have to go forward to the next note?
2 whole steps.
What would be 2 whole steps from A?
C sharp.
Okay, and how far do you have to jump from the C sharp to the next note to make a major chord?
1.5.
What would that bring you to?
E.
So what's it? What would I have to do to take that A major chord and make it to a minor chord? I could do it by changing only one note.
The C. C sharp to a C.
The middle note, we drop a half step. See how that sounds? Now look at the definition for a diminished chord. What's the spacing?
1.5 and 1.5.
Okay, so we have, if we want to play an A diminished, we play A, C, and then what would be the next note?
D sharp.
D sharp.
Okay? Those 3 are important. Now, to remember them, it's actually not as hard as you'd think. Major sounds big, right? So what gap comes first, the big or the small? Big one. Minor sounds smaller. So which gap comes first? Small one. Diminished sounds even smaller. That means you squeeze both of those gaps down to 1.5 steps. Okay, so that might be helpful to remember. Say what?
I said helpful mnemonic. That
Yeah.
was helpful, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so now this is the important part for your songwriting. But I can't teach it to you unless you logically grasp it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's not going to stick in your head. So there are how many different notes in a key?
In a key.
In a key.
7.
7 different notes. There are also 7 different chords in a key, and you want to be able to find those chords because that's what you're going to write a song with. Okay? The chords in a key will be related to the 7 notes in the key. So in the key of G, the first chord is going to be some kind of G. It'll be either G major, G diminished, or G minor, and it's only going to be one of them. The second chord in the key of G is some kind of what chord? Some kind of A chord, either A major, A minor, or A diminished. And it's only going to be one of them. And the way that you find if a chord fits in a key is if I went to the piano, like the question is A major in the key of G. Let me go play these chords. This chord, A major. If it is in the key, all the notes that are being used have to be on the scale of G. So is A major in the key of G? We have an A, we have a C sharp, and an E. Does that fit on the key of G?
No.
What doesn't fit?
C
sharp.
C sharp doesn't fit. And so that's not going to work. Let's try A minor. A, C, E. What notes does it use?
A, C, E.
And what numbers are those?
2, 4, and 6.
2, 4, 6. It skips notes, doesn't it? It's interesting. Okay. Is G major in the key of G using a G, a B, and a D?
Yeah.
What notes does it use? What numbers? 1, 3, 5. Here's a third chord in the key of G, B minor. It uses a B, a C, or excuse me, B, D, and F sharp. What notes do they use?
3,
5, 7.
3, 5, 7. On the 4 chord, take a guess at what numbers would be used.
4, 6, and 1.
4, 6, and what? And 8, right?
And
1.
eight,
Yeah,
or
4, 6,
one,
1, 4, 6, 8. What notes do you think they would be?
C,
C, G.
C, E, G. Here I'm playing. That's it. Okay? And this is how the pattern works all the way through. And so I made a cheat sheet for you so we don't have to spend too much time on it. Right there. Page 4. This will tell you all the chords in every key. And what actually happens is, in every key, the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord end up being major. The 2, 3, and 6 chords end up being minor, and the 7 ends up being diminished. And we don't usually use the 7 chord very much in Western music. We just don't like the sound. It just sounds like a circus. So let's look at a few little tips before we move on. The 1, 4, 5, and 6 chords are the most popular. I could tell you, if you turn on the radio right now, 90% of the chords you're going to hear are the 1, 4, 5, and 6 chords. Okay? Let's listen to what they sound like. So as a songwriter, you need to know that. It's critically important. Here's my 1. 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's do this in a different order. Give me a different order to try these out.
What did you just do?
Go, so let's start with you.
1, 6, 4, 5.
1, 6, 4, 5. Right, so, and then you have heart and soul, I fell in love with you, heart and soul, I fell in love with you, baby, I fell in love with you. Right, it's a super famous chord progression. 1, 6, 4, 5. Name another one. Another order.
4, 1, 5, 6.
4, 1, 5, 6. Okay, so you see, these are very common sounding chord progressions. And if you stripped a lot of famous songs down, a lot of them would end up being just that. You strip a ton of the songs. If you stripped the most popular songs right now on the radio down to numbers, you would be shocked at how simple they are. Utterly shocked. And you need to know this as a songwriter. Okay? Now, you should know that the 6th chord is the most emotional chord. In the context of hearing all the chords in a particular key, and all the notes in a key, when you hit the 6th chord, it's going to be just that darkest, saddest, or most emotional. Doesn't necessarily need to be sad, but it's like serious. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm... Right, hear that? The feel? It's just that sound. And I love that. I love that chord. Look at number 3. The 1 chord is the happy chord, right? It just sounds right. If you start a song with the 1 chord, it's going to just launch immediately with a happy feel. Okay? So right now, I want you to memorize something. I want you to memorize that the 1, 4, and 5 are major. I want you to memorize that the 2, 3, and 6 are minor. I want you to memorize that the 7 is diminished, and memorize where your half steps are. Okay? I'm going to give you a minute. Yeah. Well, you can even look at this too. You can see that this is major, minor, and diminished. So right here is the list of all the chords in the key of A. All the chords in the key of B, all the chords in the key of C, D, E, F, and G, if anyone ends up watching this video. There's a chart right there. So, which ones are major?
1, 4, 5.
Which ones are minor? Which one's diminished?
7.
Where are the half steps?
3, 4,
3 and 4 and 7 and 8. Now, I'm going to make you do this in your head. I'm going to make you tell me all the chords in a key. We're using only your head. So you need to memorize this in the next minute. So memorize it in the next minute, okay? So I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Go ahead. Okay? I'm not going to give you the full 60 seconds. Okay, go to the back of your packet. Close your packet. Go to the back. And I want you to write the numbers down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put your little triangles where the half steps are. You need a pen? Pen?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so write them down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put the little triangles above the half steps. We're going to find the chords in a particular key. Okay, we're going to do the key of D. Number 1, I want you to write down the note names in the key of D. Underneath each, huh?
You're using George?
No, D is in dog. D is in dog. And no looking at all at anything. Now remember, there's a whole step between each of those notes and half step between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. Right? If you didn't remember the order of the 12 notes, then you'd have a hard time doing this, I think. So if that's the issue, then you probably should look back. That's okay. Because that's a little bit of prerequisite information right there. You can keep it for a little bit if you need to write some more. So, okay, now, do you remember which ones were major? If you do, write underneath, vertically, write the word major underneath the notes. Like if you turn those notes into chords, write major underneath the ones that would be major. If you remember which ones they were. Now, write minor underneath the ones that should be minor. And then write diminished underneath the one that should be diminished. I don't expect everyone to get this perfect. It's okay, right? But we're trying. And I think if we were to redo this again and I gave you another minute or two to analyze which ones are major and which ones are minor, I think you'd nail it, probably. Okay? Or maybe you need to review it, but you'd be able to get it. So let's talk about it now, right? What key are we doing?
D.
Okay, so if you want to write a song in the key of D, you're figuring out the 7 chords that you can use for the key of D. So what's the one chord in the key of D?
D.
D major.
What's the second chord?
E minor.
Third chord?
F sharp.
Fourth chord?
G major.
5 chord?
A major.
6 chord?
B
E
minor.
minor.
Yep. 7 chord?
C major.
Yes. And then 8. It's back to D, right? So I can write a song using those chords. So now what I want you to do, I want you to tell me an order of numbers to try. Or tell me the chords. Tell me the chords. Because I know the chords, but tell me the chords. Start.
D major. A major. F sharp minor. And B minor.
Okay, so you see it produces something that sounds very much like a song, right? So as songwriters, you wanna understand these concepts without a doubt. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, now we gotta that is like 90% of what you need to know with theory. So if you think that was complicated, well heck, we've been sitting here, we only been doing it for 15 minutes, right? Or 20 minutes. It's not bad. Right? That is 90% of what you need to know when it comes to theory for songwriting. And I even made you a cheat sheet with all the chords in there. But you want to memorize it, right? You don't want to always have to go back to this cheat sheet. And the concept's easy, right? Half steps between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8, right? Which numbers are major? 1, 4, 5. Which ones are minor? 2, 3, 6. 7 is diminished. Now, watch this, how cool this is. Go to page 5. I put chord progressions in here, and I bet you could figure out what key they're in. Look at the first chord progression, and you see that it says G, C, D, E minor. Can you figure out what key that's in? Well, watch this. Ready? I'm going to show you a little trick. Go like this with your fingers. Okay? This is going to represent the 8 chords in a key. This is a major chord, right? Minor chord, minor chord. These two are major, right? 6 is minor. 7, major, right? What I want you to do is I want you to drop anything that isn't major. And that leaves you like this, right? Now, so we're going to drop 2. We're going to drop 3. 4 and 5 are major. Drop 6, because that's a minor. Drop 7, that's a diminished, right? Okay. Now, 1 and 8 are the same, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we're going to drop 8 because we don't need to have the same chord up 2 times. Now look at, these are the positions of the 3 major chords. How far are these apart from each other? They're right next to each other, right? This one's off by itself. Okay? So 4 and 5 are a whole step apart, and they're both major chords. Now, with that in mind, when you look at this chord progression, G major, C major, D major, E minor, can you see 3 major chords in there? I see G major, I see C major, and D major. Those are 3 major chords. Did you know that 1 has to be the 1, 1 has to be the 4, and 1 has to be the 5? Can you figure out which one are the 4 and the 5? Because they have to be a whole step apart, right? C's the 4, D's the 5. What's E minor?
6. No, I mean the 6.
Yep, 6 is a minor, right? And it's a whole step from the 5 chord. So what key is it in? G. So you can write G right there. Look at the next one. C, F, C major, F major, G major, and A minor. If anyone's looking at home, can analyze that. C major, F major, G major, A minor. Which one is the 4 and the 5?
FG.
F and G, right? F's the 4, G's the 5. A minor is what?
The 6.
C is, there you go, key of C. So if you use those chords, you'd be in the key of C. Let's go down to D, E, A, F sharp minor. D major, E major, A major, F sharp minor. What is the 4 and the 5?
E, major, A,
Yeah, which one's the 4?
E,
D major. Which one's the 5?
E,
Okay. What is F sharp minor?
6.
That's 6. And what key is it in?
A.
A. Okay, now let's go to intermediate. F, G, A minor, A minor. What if you saw that chord progression? What key is that in?
C.
It's in C, right? Now, we didn't even show all 3 major chords, but we did show the 2 that are a whole step apart. And when you see F major and you see G major, you know that's a 4 and a 5. So you can walk it back. If F is the 4, it's half step to the 3, which would be E minor. Whole step back to the 2, which would be D minor. And a whole step backwards to that, to the 1, would be C major. Got it? Okay, yeah, it's a little complicated, especially if you're doing this for the first time, but do you understand the concept? Makes sense, right? Makes sense. We're going to go to advanced now. E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, and A major. Say that again. E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A major. What key is it in? Let's think about it. Look at the major chords first. There's a problem, right? It's kind of hard to tell which one's the one, isn't it? So what you can do is you can change your attention towards the minors, right? Think about this. Let's put our hands up again. Which ones are minor? Drop everything but minor. I don't know if we can do that. See? Which ones are neighbors?
2 and 3.
2 and 3, right? So if you ever see two minors that are a whole step apart, what numbers do you know that they are?
2
Okay, so let's look at the progression is E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A major. And what clue do you find in there?
F sharp minor and G sharp minor.
Yeah, F sharp minor and G sharp minor. How far are they apart?
What's that?
So what numbers do they have to be?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. So if F sharp minor is the 2, what is the 1?
8.
E. So it's the key of E. See how that works? Okay, so it's logical, it makes a lot of sense, and so you can write songs in keys now. And the chords are going to sound good as long as you're staying in a single key. It's going to sound fantastic. And try, if you want to write a song in the key of D, write the chords out, try them in all different orders, and you should be good. Go to page 6, we're moving on. Great job on the theory. Give yourself a round of applause. That was like a semester of music theory in like 20 minutes. Good job. Okay, number 6, page 6, simple song structures, okay? When you're writing songs, you can use something very simple like verse, chorus. It's the most basic, The next one is the most common probably. It's verse, then chorus, then verse, then chorus, and then bridge chorus. Why a bridge? Well, after about 2.5 minutes of a song, you don't want to hear another verse and you don't want to hear another chorus at that point. You want something new. And so it's very common to throw in a bridge, to change it up, and then you resolve it with a final chorus, okay? I think that's a great songwriting structure. Then look at the next one. Sometimes people will throw in what is called a pre-chorus. So that would be verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse 2, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus. Sound good? So you can analyze that a little bit. Maybe look at some songs that you appreciate and analyze kind of the structure that they use. But ultimately, you've got to write your own stuff. This would be a good sheet. If we had a little bit more time, we could write out, you pick a key that you want to write your song in, write out a verse, chord progression, write out a chorus, chord progression. You could try it out. Now this next one is a page I'm super passionate about, page 8. If anyone's watching this, I'll let you see this one too. These are the common ways that you break the theory rules. Did you know that sometimes you're going to find a chord chart online for a song that you like and they're not going to follow the theory rules perfectly? So what's up with that? Well, I think this is one of the most important pieces of paper you could ever see as a songwriter. I think number 1, that theory sheet is the most important. I think this is probably the second most important. This shows you all of the common ways in which the rules of theory are broken. And every single one of these ways that you break the rules has a very unique sound that you cannot get any other way. So let's look at the first one. It says major 2 chord, okay? Sometimes songwriters will take a 2 chord and it's supposed to be what kind of chord? Is it supposed?
Minor.
It's supposed to be a minor chord if you follow theory perfectly. But they will purposefully break the rule and they'll make it a major. And that's what we heard with Wonderwall. Okay? My students, I make them, all my students, because I know how important this theory is, I make them memorize the 1, 4, 5, and 6 chord in every key. Key of C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. And I make them say all of them in less than 10 seconds. Not just one key, all of them. So it's like C, F, G, A minor, D, J, B minor, E, B, C sharp minor, B, or F, B flat, C, D minor, G, C, D minor, A, D, E, F sharp minor, B, E, F sharp, G minor. And I make them memorize it like that. Because as a musician, if you get your theory down, man, so much stuff is going to come so much easier to you. So, major 2 chord. Let's think about this. Wonderwall is in the key of G. Start with a G. What number is that? Oh, actually, no, it starts with an E minor. What number is that?
2.
It's either 2, 3, or 6, right? Which one is it? It's a 6. So, today is gonna be the day. What number is this? G? Gonna be the day that the A major. Gonna throw it back to. And what's up with the 2? A major. Supposed to be minor, right? And they made it a major. Gonna throw it back to you. Then we go to C, which is 4. Okay, so our chord progression is 6, 1, major 2 chord, and then 4. Right? Now listen to the difference between if I played the 2 as a minor. Now here it is in the major. Right? It has a different feel to it, and it's very unique. And so the Beatles love to do that. Beatles, English bands, they who have followed, the Beatles example, taking the 2 chords, making it a major chord, and it's got a unique sound. The next one, you could also make it like an A7. Like if you're in the key of G, you could take the 2 chord and play A7. It's got a feel to it, right? A unique flavor that you cannot get anywhere else. You can take other minor chords and make them major, but it will not feel the same way unless it's in that 2 position. Next, the 3rd chord could be played major. Has anyone ever heard the song Creep by Radiohead? It should be, but the playing is major. I'm a creep. There's your 4 chord. Now listen to this. What did I do? It was a 4, played as a 4 chord first, and then as a minor. Okay? 2 broken rules in 1 chord progression there. Can you see where it says minor 4? Very, very interesting, right? That one is so beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to play a song. Let me see. I wrote a song using that one time. So, are you feeling like... It's the same song that I played in the beginning. I want to play that for you again, okay? And I actually use a minor 4 in there. No, it's a different song. Goes. You are hell's angel, and I am saint maybe. And you're going down a road that I don't want to go down. Yes, you're going down a road that I don't want to go down. So maybe has made up his mind. Right? So that's the minor 4, yeah?
Question. Can singers also introduce a broken chord into a song?
You mean just vocally?
Just vocally.
Vocally. Well, they can't introduce a broken chord because vocalists can't sing a chord. They can only sing one note. Does that make sense?
Like song something that fits in, or like a broken chord, and then the guitarist's like, ooh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like other instrument will play, let's say, the notes of a chord,
Mhm.
except one chord where the singer will come in, but singing a different pitch, I guess. And they're kind of together matching to
Oh,
a
that's
chord.
interesting.
Okay, so like the guitarist does not play the note that the vocalist sings.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the vocalist kind of completes the chord.
yeah.
Yeah, probably could. Yeah, that definitely could be done. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think it would make a difference if the guitarist played the broken chord and the vocalist hit that broken note.
That's true.
You know, I think that would sound absolutely fine as well. So I think those are the big ones. There's two more that I want to talk about. The bottom two. Okay, that's the ones that we're going to have enough time to talk about today. The major 6 chord. Has anyone ever heard the song "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal? Right? You ever heard the song? Okay. Right. So it starts with a 6 chord, 5, major 6. And so these are very, very interesting how it works. And it has a very, tell me what this sounds like. I'm gonna be in the key of G and I'm gonna play a 4 and then a 5 and then a major 6 chord. Okay? Ready? Listen to this. Here's a normal 6, minor. Now listen when I play major next. 4, 5, major 6. What does it feel like? What feeling does it give?
Happier than to me, happier than the first one.
Feels a little victorious to
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
I think. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And it's the only place you can get that sound. It's got to be as a 6 chord played as a major. The last one, and this is a weird one, but it does actually show up a lot. Taking the 7 chord, which is supposed to be what kind of chord? And it's supposed to be how far from your 8? Half step. Half step, right? 7 and 8 are half step, right? What songwriters do very often is they'll take that 7 chord, they flat it a half step, and make it a major chord. I don't know why, but they do a lot, and it has a unique feel to it, and you're going to find that sometimes. So I have to tell you this because if you go and pull a chord chart off the internet and you find it doesn't fit perfectly into the key, it's probably because one of these rules have been broken, right? And you're going to have to play with this a little bit. You're going to have to really analyze it. But that is the meat of what you need to, you need to do as a songwriter as far as the chord progressions come. Unless you're vegan, it's that. But it's like that tofu chunk of everything that you need to do as far as the chord progressions go. Okay, I think that's it. You guys can read over the stuff with the lyrics and so forth. Any questions over the stuff that we talked about today? This would be the time to ask the questions. What do you think? Was that good?
Yeah.
Helpful?
Yes.
Cool. All right, so you guys are totally ready to write chord progressions for songs. And see ya.
Thank you.
Yep. Totally ready to write chord progressions for songs in any key that you want. You should follow, this pattern here. You know of the ways that people break rules, and you can try it. Right? Try it and see and learn the flavor that each specific rule breaking, has. Then once you write the chord progression and it's time to write melodies, I suggest you take very, very careful consideration with the notes that you select. Make it so that if the melody stood alone, it would be interesting. If you have good chords, you have a good melody hook, and you add some solid lyrics to that, you're going to have a good song. Honestly, you can see someone just grab an acoustic guitar, just play a good tune, and a good tune will come across as a good tune just with acoustic and vocals if you do it right. Okay? Cool. All right, so this is my wife Renata and our baby. Hello. It's Ahava.
This is a habit.
Cool. So I just I'm going to pass this around. If anyone is interested in learning more about classes at all, do we have these?
Yeah, they're at the back.
Okay.
Specifically the songwriting class.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm going to pass this around. If you guys have any interest in finding out more about classes that we do, you guys see how fast we moved today? Do you think that was fast? That's how we move in all of the classes. Lightning speed. Did you find it clear? Stuff that used to be confusing is not confusing anymore. And that's how we roll here. That's how we do these classes. And the people that take the classes, they're like 3-month classes. We just meet every Saturday. The people who take these classes fly years forward in 3 months. And it happens every time because when we explain things, we make it clear. And it's very useful that way. So we have a couple of classes coming up. We have an advanced performance master class, which you have to pretty much have gone through the intermediate class to get into that because it's extremely advanced stuff. We have a songwriter's master class, and the people in that class will write an album or at least an EP. They will write enough music for that. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Maybe you can talk a little bit more about what will be happening as people are writing their songs, getting some just some feedback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Just people will actually be some positive, critical feedback as you're, writing your songs.
Yeah. So as we start to apply some of these things that we're learning, we can share it. I'll be teaching a class and I will give some really good feedback. I'll say this part sounds great. This little area of the melody is a little bit bland. Can you think about maybe moving around some of the notes, the syllables a little bit to just make it more interesting so that the melody stands alone, right? I can take these theory concepts and we can really begin to use them in songwriting. And we can analyze some really great songs where we'll take a song and we'll say, okay, look at this song right now. There is a broken rule in here. And can you identify which one it is? Do you like that sound? If so, if you were going to write a song, how would you use that in your own song? So we'll really make this stuff very useful and practical in songwriting. Then we have an intermediate guitar class, and if you're more interested in learning about the guitar than you are about songwriting, there is no faster way to progress in all of New York City than this class. It's 3 months, and you could go from high beginner level to advanced in 3 months. And by the end of the 3-month class, you will know more than probably 90% of guitar teachers. And I know this because I've been hiring guitar teachers since I was like 23. Okay? And I know what they know, and I usually have to train my guitar teachers for the studios that we had back in the Midwest. And I know that the people that get to the end of this intermediate guitar class know a ton more than the guitar teachers I have to hire. Because I can't find guitar teachers that know this stuff from the intermediate class. So, with that said, we get into deep stuff using this theory, soloing up and down the entire guitar neck in all the scales that you need to know. Basically, mastering the theory, learning how to play chords and solo at the same exact time. All that stuff we get into, so it's a lot of fun. So if you're interested, most definitely sign up, and we can get in touch with you, let you know more about that. And I also teach private lessons. I only teach a small handful of them, but if you're ever interested in that, it's super fast moving. And then every class is filmed, and then these packets are sent out via email every single week. So if you wake up one morning and you just don't feel like getting up on the Saturday morning, you want to chill out, the video will be in your email, and the packet will be in your email the next day or so.
So if you have to travel or you want to re-watch the lesson, a lot of students presently, they come to class and they want to re-watch it. And so that's available too. And so the classes are different times. They're every single Saturday, starting March 10th through May 26th. So it's every Saturday, and all of this is on the back of your handout as well. So it just depends on which class you're interested in joining. Some people just watch the videos, and that's totally fine. Some people only come to class, and some people do a hybrid of both of them. So those
Yep.
are all the options.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where's that video, on the website?
Yeah,
This
yep.
one?
Yep. So what we do is we send out an email with a link
Okay.
to the video itself, because it's a private video, and then you get to go watch the video. You can pause it, you can rewind it,
Cool.
and you'll have the document. So you print it out or have it on your computer, and you can just be going through it. You can watch it, rewatch it, pause it if you didn't understand something, rewind it, and it works out really well. But again, there's no faster way to progress on the guitar than this intermediate class, 3 months. You will learn more than a guitar teacher knows. And if you don't believe me, just look at what we learned today. In 1 hour, and these classes are an hour and a half long, and then we meet every single week. So it's pretty awesome. So I can save you probably like 10 years of time. And yep, so just check it out. I think it'd be really cool. So good to meet you guys, and I hope it's useful. If you ever have any questions, I think my contact information is on the front. Yeah, you can just send an email if you have any questions, and get in touch.
Or you can talk with us too afterwards as well.
Yep.
I help with the classes, so you can.